Okay. Welcome everybody. We'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. We will go ahead and get started. First off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have asked Commissioner Larson to give us a thought and or prayer, so we'll turn this time over to him.
Okay, I'll be brief. My thought was inspired by the Bamberger rail line. I don't want to do a deep dive on the history of that, but basically this was a rail line that ran from Salt Lake to Ogden from about 1908 to 1958, about a 50-year run. And we have commemoration plaques in our city here for that route. It was essential infrastructure for a period of time, including through World War II, and then kind of lost competition to automobiles and trucking industries and so on, and federally funded highways. And so it was taken out of service and decommissioned. Fast forward to 2000s, we rebuilt a new commuter rail line, Front Runner, basically serving the same function. So likewise in Salt Lake, we have the trolley square where it was the hub of the trolley system through the Salt Lake area, and rail lines through the city that were then, because of the automobiles, taken out of service and demolished, and properties were gobbled up and developed, and only to come back later and rebuild rail lines through the city and have to purchase properties to create corridors and so on. I thought it was an interesting thought that maybe there was a lack of foresight by those who abandoned those corridors. It would have been wise, I think, to at least preserve corridors from a property perspective in case we wanted to add rail back in at some point. Anyway, missed opportunity. Nobody has a crystal ball, and I'm sure those making decisions at the time, thought they were doing best. But the lesson learned is, as a planning commission, citizens, as we make decisions, as we consider irreversible ideas that happen in our cities, maybe we should try to take the long view and consider if, what the effect might be 25, 40 years down the road. So that's my thought. If it's all right, so I'll say a quick prayer. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunities we have to be a part of this community. We pray that as we conduct this meeting as a planning commission, we'll be guided in our decisions and thoughts to act in the best interest of the citizens of this city, and that we'll do so with wisdom, and say this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. That was excellent. I always like the history aspect of things, so perfect. All right, let's move along to our first item of business on the agenda tonight. We have a public hearing, legislative recommendation to the City Council for the Schmucker Zone Map Amendment at 553 South 850 East to rezone from public facility to residential low. And this is going to be, sorry, who is this? Corey?
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Chair Daly, members of the commission. As indicated, it's a rezone request. Just a little bit of quick background. The Schmuckers own a lot up on Island View Drive. It's lot 53. They're on the east side of the road. There's a little flatter piece from the hillside, if you would call it, just north of their home. They approached the city a while back ago in interest in purchasing that small, about 3,000 square feet. The city agreed to be able to allow them to acquire it. Much of the process, in some sense, has been complete. They did file a plat amendment with the City Council, which was recently approved. But that approval is conditioned at this point in time in rezoning the property, because we don't like to have two zones on one single piece of property. The current 3,000 square feet is public facility low. They're requesting to rezone it to residential low, to add it into their lot. And we looked at the south east neighborhood plan. It's expected to be low-density, single-family development in the location. They did indicate in the plan to be sensitive to the hillside. This is a slope area that's easily acquired into the property. One note that all the approvals are hanging on is just north of the property is a Dominion Energy line. And the agreement and other terms in talking with Dominion is to keep the north property line 25 feet from the pipeline, center of the pipeline. And so all of the conditions of approval are just waiting for the city engineer to verify those distance. I've seen some email exchanges with the Smuckers. They're chomping to try to complete everything and get everything in. This has been quite a long process to them, so they're trying to wrap it up. So we don't see any problems from a staff level rezoning it and allowing the change of zoning. So we're recommending it, and the conditions that we've assigned are making sure everything tidies up, that it doesn't take place until, it's absorption into the lot, so we don't have a remnant piece hanging out there, and that the city engineer give that final verification to the pipeline. So we're recommending approval, that you recommend approval.
Thank you, Corey. So just to be clear then, the pipeline is going to be still 25 feet away from
The new
the
north
northern edge
property
of this
line.
new boundary. Okay, perfect. Does anybody else have any questions for Corey? No? Okay. So we will go, excuse me, we'll go ahead and invite the applicant to come forward and speak if you'd like to be able to discuss any plans or answer any questions, but you don't have to.
I really don't have anything to say, but I appreciate you taking your time tonight and considering this, but.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So we will, this has been scheduled for a public hearing, and we do need to hold a public hearing on it, so we will go ahead now and open this up to the public and give anybody the opportunity to come forward and speak that would like to do so. I have a feeling everybody's here for something else. Okay. Well, seeing nobody wishing to come forward and speak on this, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, back to the commission. Any further questions, comments, discussion? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept. I'm not using the right terminology.
Do that instead.
Hereby make a motion from the planning commission to recommend approval of the zone map amendment.
Conditions.
Approximately 3,000 square feet of land as agreed to by the city, and petitioner from public facility low to residential low, subject to the following requirements, 1 and 2. Need to read those?
Nope, and then the next part too,
Suggested reasons for the action,
A and B.
A, B, and C.
Perfect. Thanks. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We've got Christina with the second. All right, any further discussion? We haven't had a lot of discussion, so. All right, then we will go ahead and start down on that end with Commissioner Kerr.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Shagrood?
Aye.
Perfect. That motion passes. So the next step then will be to go to the city council for their final approval on that rezone map amendment. And Corey will be in contact with you on when and how to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move along then to the next item on our agenda. We have item number 2, an administrative decision, a final subdivision plat for the lane located at 644 West 400 South. And we'll turn the time over to staff on this one.
Yeah, my internet's not loading it, so Mackenzie, if you wouldn't mind, well, wait a minute, it's finally loaded. I pushed that 30 seconds ago. 30 seconds is just such a long time.
Feels like it.
All right. This is the Lane subdivision for final plat. So you've seen this through the site plan process. You've seen it conceptual and final. With the final was submitted the preliminary plat. The reason being is in this zone and typical with the planned unit development, even though it is consisting of single-family homes, there is some common space areas. They're filing a planned unit development plat, so this is the final. The final is to reflect what you approved on the final site plan, and we've looked at that, and we find it consistent with the final site plan that's approved with the commission. However, there's additional items when you're dividing property to make sure on the final plat. They've submitted a couple of corrections to it. You should see the addition of the CCNRs. They provided those after the writing of the report on Friday, so I went ahead and posted those CCNRs. The purpose of the subdivision review is to make sure that it covers the common space that they're dedicating, and then the rest of it is to just make sure it complies with state law, which I don't know if Ms. Romney has reviewed those yet. So as you pass this forward, we just make sure that those CCNRs are meet the muster of the state law and expectations of our code. I tried to provide to you the summary of your previous approval for the preliminary portion. They completed most everything. The two items that were brought up was addressing. I worked with Mike Carlson when he got back from Hawaii. I don't know why he came back, but we gave them a list.
Corey.
But we signed the addresses to them, sent them to the applicant, and so they have been given the official address list. Those numbers just need to be translated to the final plat, so they're mostly complete with that item. And then the maintenance agreement for the stormwater, there's been two parts to it. One was working with the property to the northwest, which is the ACC Truck World site, to move some of the drainage out to the frontage road. They've got that agreement in place. This maintenance agreement's between the city and the developer, calling out our expectations of that stormwater management plan. And I believe, Lisa, did you send a copy to them?
Yes, I've received the signed copy from them, and it's on the next city council meeting for approval.
So they have completed that. So from our perspective, we're really doing the tie-ups to get the plat in a recordable state, but we still have to review this at the commission level because you want it to be consistent with what you approved at preliminary, in this case, consistent with the final site plan. And then the city council also needs to take action for the acceptance of the plat, so you'll be recommending whether they should be approved. So we've provided those conditions of approval. Our conditions written in there, if you want to just pass them as is, even though there's part of it already taken place, feel free. If you want to modify it, feel free. If you don't think it's sufficient, also feel free. So, but we're recommending that you, again, recommend to the city council to approve the PUD plat.
Corey, real quick, on your staff report, or if Mackenzie, if you'd scroll up, please. Keep it a little going, a little further, right, a little more. Right there. So number 2, you list as in progress for that, but is that one the one that the email's attached to the thing that says the county's not going to require that?
Oh, you're right, I didn't cover that. I added to your backup material that Friday afternoon after the report, Kevin Campbell's email and his discussion that they did not need a permit, because that was the debate, what we talked about previously. And I was copied on that email, but obviously I didn't pay attention to it. So
Okay,
I've attached it so that you know that they're not going to require a permit. So
all right. So I just wanted to make sure that item number 2 there isn't in progress, but not
it's not required
not
anymore.
required. Okay.
Good point.
And so then that just leaves number 8 in progress, which has been provided to them, and they just need to put that onto the plat and good to go. Okay. Thank you, Corey. Anybody else have any questions for Corey or Lisa or even Mackenzie?
McKinsey knows most about this.
No? Okay. Then we will invite the applicant to come forward and speak to this if you'd like to, address any thoughts, comments, or concerns. You don't have to.
Just want to say thanks for letting me be here today. We appreciate, we've come before you guys quite a few times so far, so we appreciate your guys' patience through this project. We're excited to see it through.
Thank you. Okay, this one, there is not a public hearing required for this one, so any further discussion or comments from the planning commission? Okay. Anybody else want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Great.
So I would move that I hereby make a motion for the Planning Commission to recommend approval of the final subdivision plat and plan for the Lane subdivision located at this address to the City Council for the conditions noted in the staff recommendation 1 through 4 and for reasons A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And yeah, we didn't really talk about this, but I think leaving the conditions as written in the staff report is appropriate. They're easily checked off and we can move along, so sounds good to me.
I appreciate that you took a lot of our suggestions and comments from previous times into consideration and resolved a lot of those things prior to this point, so thank you very much.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Nope. Then we will, why don't we start with Commissioner Chagrud, if we could, with a vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Wright.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. It'd be hilarious if I said nay. No, aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Would it be hilarious? Would it really be hilarious? That's the question.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you very much. So. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna flip through my packet here. CCNR is rather long. I didn't read it all, so good luck to you, Lisa.
Why not? It's so scintillating.
I looked at the table at the end.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Called scanning.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Okay. Let's move then to the next item on our agenda. We are on a roll. I'm loving this. We do have a public hearing scheduled for an administrative decision, conceptual site plan for a Chipotle at 370 West 400 North, famously the former Dairy Queen, in case anybody's wondering. And we will turn the time over to staff on this one. Who's this? Corey again.
Yes, thank you, Chair Daly. And McKinsey looks like she's already beating me to the punch for the revised elevations and storyboard that came in, also subsequent to them reading the staff report. So although this is a narrow review, I think it has some importance. We're working with the previous or former Dairy Queen site. The owner of the property is working with an architect, and they plan on remodeling the restaurant for Chipotle Mexican Grill. Much of the work is the interior remodel of the building, but they do plan to do some exterior material changes and coloration changes, which brings up an interesting element. Zoning administrator can approve changes to a site plan subsequent, provided it complies with the current ordinance. And it doesn't affect something that was a condition of approval of the planning commission. In this case, I provided the backup report, and I did look at the minutes and the staff reports back when that condition about the muted colors for Dairy Queen corporate, was it the blue and the orange and copper, or something like that. And didn't see in the minutes the discussion that I recall, so I have no idea if I recall something different. But there was some discussion with Dairy Queen about the corporate colors, and they used a lot of primary type colors, and the commission asked that they be toned a little bit by muting those colors. And so we did not have the standard corporate colors that were Dairy Queen wanted. So it does affect the condition to change these materials. So it's coming back to you. It's a two-step process to come back to you, conceptual for you to debate about it, give them direction, compliance with the expectations, and then coming back with a final to make that decision. A lot of what's being looked at in the exterior material comes out of the Parish Lane Gateway. I do go back and quote the general plan ordinance so that you see that the Parish Lane was an important corridor to the general plan, and the Parish Lane Gateway standards were designed to implement that aesthetic value and importance, iconic importance of the corridor. We're dealing with two kind of provisions here that I see. We're dealing with, one, what is harmonious with the area? And that's fairly subjective because it doesn't fully explain what we mean by harmony. But it does look at the surrounding area. I bring this up as an important concept because if you recall, some members of the commission with the Quick Quack next door, there was a debate whether Quick Quack should be in the gateway or not, and it was determined by the commission that it had a substantial presence on Parish Lane, and Quick Quack was under that guidance that changed their corporate plan that they wanted to make it more harmonious with the area. And so I think that's a discussion of, is the proposal changes harmonious with the area? Staff's not convinced it was. We acknowledge what's happening around in the area. We weighed what's immediate to the development, which is across the street from the development. And although we have gray tones and cool tones along the corridor, right in that immediate area, we have a predominance of those warm tones and earth tones and colors to it. So we said we weren't convinced. The second element of the Parish Lane Design Guidelines is it wants to use and again, it's subjective, but we want that base of maintenance-free material. We want that more permanent look that's lasting, and then you accentuate it with other building materials. And so you have the rock element that Dairy Queen has. Chipotle, from my discussions in the past with them, I'm not sure exactly who, but they talked about that rock. They want to change some of that rock a little bit originally because they don't want to match what the Dairy Queen style was. They wanted to bring a little bit more, for lack of better terms, modern look to it from what the Dairy Queen was. The proposal originally was to overcoat that rock with paint. Again, I raised a concern about painting, particularly a hard material like that and its longevity. When you deal with, from my experience, historic preservation, you take an older brick, paint over it, you've likely destroyed the original brick, no matter what you do in taking it down. The other thing we're not convinced about, though, is that this is a faux rock on the building, so it's been a concrete product and stained, and so overpainting it is still a concern of staff, so they came back, and I don't know, Mackenzie, if you could show yeah, that's good enough, the building elevations. They want to stick with some of those gray tones. That's some of that, their corporate. The attempt that I got in the email exchange is they tried to warm it up a little bit, so I'm not sure, what that really fully means. I hesitate saying we should mimic, because I do like, in my personal design preference as a planner, as things get interpreted, they look more organic. If you go down, I always pick on what's the gateway down there that stole from the Crossroads Mall? That's all salmon color, and it all looks predictable, and it all looks like one period development. If you go to 25th Street in Ogden, architects probably did a really good job of planning design buildings before the planners took over. Because if you go down to 25th Street, they had the principles on all those buildings, and some better than others, but that interpretation gives you that organic feel. And so I don't want to mimic, so I think we could adapt some of the colors and not say it has to be all of this. But their proposal now, rather than overpaint, is to stain. And Commissioner Larson, I could probably lean on your experience. I don't know what it takes to overstain the faux rock, whether it's an acid wash that takes it down and then they can restain over the top. That's something I don't have any expertise at. But if that's possible, I think that's appropriate rather than rip off the material and throw it to the construction landfill. So I think this is really debatable with the commission. This is the subjective value of how does it fit in with the surrounding, and is the material changes sufficient to establish an initial permanency that is maintenance-free and accentuated by the other colors and materials. Be honest with you, I do like the darker red coming in on the new elevation plan, gives that contrast, but then I can't figure out how much is my taste in design and how much is purposeful from not looking gaudy and really crazy. So again, Commissioner Larson, I may be picking on you for some feedback a little bit, but that's that point. We recommended tabling because we weren't ready to say this is a go. So I believe we have an applicant here. They can talk about what they're trying to accomplish, and then we can have a conversation at this conceptual level where we should go.
Okay. Thanks, Corey. A couple quick questions for you, Corey. When you talk about cooler tones, sorry, I gotta go back here. The Parish Lane Design Guidelines talk about muted tones, but it doesn't, does it say?
I don't think it say muted tones. I think it says
It's not muted. Oh, it just says harmonious.
the muted was an interpretive of Dairy Queen that, and this goes back to
We've had that for. we've
In-N-Out
interpreted
Burger,
that for
the bright
ages.
yellows, the
Yeah.
bright blues, the bright reds.
Well, right, and
That's been consistency with the planning commission and several different members of trying to stay away from primary colors. But that's really all that's delved deeper in this harmonious subjective statement.
Okay, so it says to be harmonious with the rest of it. And for sure, that's how we ended up with one of the best looking quick quacks around,
Yes.
you know. So there's that. I won't,
That took a long time.
Those were yellow and green originally.
As the
Yeah.
good quacks go, right?
yeah, as quick quacks go, that one's a darn good looking one. So, but it doesn't necessarily talk about warm colors, cool colors, or whatever, right? Just,
Right, I mean, this is,
Idea of harmonious.
yeah, I mean, it's a subjective value because you look at Bank of America recently approved.
I was gonna bring up.
It's gone from what Iggy's was to much more the cooler tones.
yes.
And to be honest with you, a former member struggled with the cool tones on the Arby's gas station
Yeah. I
when they
remember
came
that.
in, so.
Well, and the Bank of America.
Yeah. But then if you look at MTC and it's all gray, but MTC was built before the Parish Lane Design Guidelines, so, and then you look at America First, which is
Yeah.
all what.
All gray.
It's a wrong name, but it's called Farmington Stone is what the Bank of America, even though it's not really Farmington Stone, maybe named after the gray of the Farmington Complex geologic rock, but it's all gray. So I did have to confess that there are cool tones within it, so, but I just kind of hung my hat and being not convinced by saying, but I'm set right next to Beans Brew, Jiffy Lube, right next to Quick Quack, even
Even the Zion's Bank.
even the Zion's Bank, and then I got the restaurant Chili's across the way, and the only cool tone's the other corner. Opposing, so that you have this juxtaposed, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Corey, I don't remember, on the Bank of America, is there, what, I'm sure there's a rock feature on the Bank of America.
Gray.
Did
gray
that
rock.
come in black or gray or what color?
Charcoal.
Charcoal. Okay. It's,
Charcoal and white and then in between gray for some striping.
okay. Who else has questions for Corey?
Just to clarify, when they talk about staining the stone, that's just gonna be a sprayed-on product. It's just has some transparency instead of being opaque, like a paint. So you will see some variation showing through. It'll basically just darken it all to a grayish tone, but, you know, some transparency. I think that'll look better than an opaque paint, which their original idea was just to paint it all. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I don't know how to I don't know if those warm tones just soften, whether they disappear. I don't know what it does, and I don't know how, other than looking, I use the word gaudy in my vernacular. I don't know how gaudy it looks, and I don't want to insult the property owner or anybody. I just don't know is what I'm saying,
And
so.
given that it's a concrete stone product anyway, that's already stained colors, it's not a big difference other than it'll be more gray, it'll basically color it all in the gray tones instead of the beige tones that it is now.
But you'll have a variety
You
of,
still have darks and lights showing through.
so
Yeah.
maybe a little bit like the Bank of America, not Bank of America, the America First Bank.
Yeah.
Has lights and grays and.
Probably
light.
not as light as that generally, but yeah. I think it is an improvement that they added the red. Before it was all grays. And I think that does help tie to the adjacent properties.
And if you look at the white, I mean, we'll talk about this in a minute after we hear from the applicant, but I have some thoughts.
Okay. Any other questions for Corey? Nope. All right. So we will, this time, invite the applicant to come forward and step to the podium, introduce yourself, and tell us whatever you'd like to tell us about what Corey said or anything else. And
Sure, thank you so much. My name's Joe Pianetta. I work with the developer, Terraform Companies. Also developed the AT&T Beans and Brews, Jiffy Lube projects years ago before I worked there. So, Chipotle themselves were not able to come. They're the true applicant. They're out of state, so I'm here representing them. I do have, I heard a lot of questions on the materials, and I have some pictures of the red installed, and it has the paint, that medium gray. Would you guys like to see that?
Yeah.
I think that might help. I can't remember how many I've printed, 6 or 7.
well, that's okay.
Start this way.
If you could, start this way and make sure Mackenzie gets one down there.
I'll share with him if that's okay, because I'd rather that they. Thanks.
So this is just a recently completed location we have. Do you have one more? If you're interested. So like you said, a lot of their colors are corporate colors, right? They're trying to look like a Chipotle no matter where you're at in the country, right? And we're very understanding of requirements, and we want to fit into that as well. So you can kind of see on here, it looks like a dark reddish, where here it's more like a quarantine type, what it actually looks like once it's installed. And then you can kind of see that paint color in the middle is also on there. So that kind of gives you an idea.
And
You're talking about this gray right
Yes.
here? Like this? Yep, okay.
And would the upper white be the same as also?
The upper white, so we've actually changed this. So we have quote unquote a bright white on the first set of renderings. We've changed this to more of almond. If you take the two color boards and
So are the
lay it
pictures
away-
we're looking at the bright white then?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you take the color boards and lay them over the top of each other, you can tell, but like looking at it separately, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. And there is a big difference, but
I call it eggshell.
yeah. And then as far as the stone goes, they just want to darken it up to be part of their thing. I think the staining makes a lot more sense than the painting. I totally agree with that, and I'm glad that they're headed in that direction. If you guys like it, then that's even better.
So let me ask you a question on
Yeah.
this. So on this picture here, we've got a little bit of some red brick, I guess, over here, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's
that's a
we're not looking to do something like that.
no. I was just trying to show the metal.
Right.
You know, you kind of see the dark eyebrow over the drive-through. That picture shows you what that canopy looks like.
Yeah.
So I just felt like that was more real world. It might help paint a better picture of what we're trying to do. And then I just didn't have an example of the stained stone. I haven't stained stone personally, but I have taken pink brick and stained it, and it looks amazing. Takes it right out of the 70s. Makes it look good, so. As far as what we're doing with the project, we are gonna resurface everything, but basically gonna put back the paint lines where they're at, keep the curbing where it's at. The light poles will be redone. We're gonna re-roof. We're gonna go inside the building and basically take everything out, down to the studs and the trusses, even the insulation. So, and then we're just gonna start new from there. So that's basically what we're gonna do with the building. You know, it was a good look at, do we scrap it and start new, but we definitely wanted to keep what we could out of the landfill, which goes back to the statement you made, Corey, about the stone. So,
So one maybe question or thought for you, and this is,
Yeah.
I believe, outside of our ability to tell you to do this, but a thought that I have. when I was looking at this.
recommended.
Yeah. So on this particular elevation view right here, I noticed that the drive-through window is going to be on that far west kind of end there. Planning for Chipotle's success, obviously, you know, one of the things that Dairy Queen struggled with was a very long drive-through line.
The queue.
That would, exactly, long queuing, and it would spill out onto Fourth West sometimes. So from this view, you know, moving that drive-through window even further to the west shortens up the amount of stacking that can be done.
Right.
So unless there's going to be other plans to help keep that stacking on the property wrapped around on the north side of the building or something like that, whatever can be done to help keep that queuing on the property rather than spilling out on the road.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that makes a lot of sense. I know Chipotle looked at that because right now there's two windows.
yeah.
So they looked at which one made the most sense for them. I think what you're seeing brands that weren't necessarily looking for drive-through because of COVID, right? But at the same time, they're not, I think their drive-through takes a little bit longer per car than like a quick serve Dairy Queen, but the volume isn't nearly as high as far as cars churning through. So they did an internal analysis on that. This is what they're comfortable with. But I'm more than willing to pass on your recommendation.
I was going to say the same thing. And I mean, you could easily maintain the same sort of exterior structure by just putting the Chipotle thing on the left and the window and taking that one on the right. I thought that perhaps interior-wise, there may be a reason for using that window, but if there is not, then I would highly recommend at least just considering that.
Yeah, and this is, you know, again, based on experience with Dairy Queen and understanding what you're saying about this is a different business than Dairy Queen's is, but
Right.
Dairy Queen frequently spilled out onto Fourth West, and
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to
whatever we can
be
do to prevent that.
doing
And
that. Yeah.
as much as they were fast served, I mean, that's kind of debatable as well, so.
I agree.
This
I agree.
may be similarly,
I'm a resident of Bountiful. I've been to Dairy Queen many, many times.
no.
Okay. Anyway, that was a little bit of a separate discussion outside of the color storyboard and whatnot.
Sure.
But anyway. Does anybody else have any questions, comments for the applicant about colors or?
Mackenzie, can you pull down so we can see the side, the other view? Because I can't see this view from, there we go, yeah. I wanted to make sure we could see some red from all the other angles and just keep going if you can. So this one, there's no red on that side at all, and that's gonna be the main
That's the north side.
That's the
Faces
main
quick
side
back.
that people will enter, not
Yes.
see, but enter from.
Correct.
Have you considered doing any sort of like design element, like this little thing to break up just that sheer, straight, long, like it feels pretty
Yeah.
cold?
I don't 100% know what the design team was doing there. However, we're doing another one of these in Ogden right now. We just started construction today. And it has that element on it, so I'm sure they would be willing to.
Or a logo? I mean, there's literally
Yeah,
nothing on this whole side.
break up that space somehow,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's no logo, there's no other color, and it just feels really, if this is gonna be the place where everyone's walking into, I don't know, it feels pretty
Stark.
stark, for sure. Cold, sort of. Can you keep scrolling down?
Or, yeah.
Right there, okay, see like, and that one looks, I mean, even just a little bit different there, that looks nice, and I understand that signage is to take advantage of the traffic,
Yes,
but it also just, the foot traffic, there is quite a bit of foot traffic that hits that area, or at least did hit that area with ice cream, and you'll have people coming from the theater that are gonna be driving and maybe coming there as well, so that's something to consider, is that just breaking up that solid black, grayish, dark gray and white.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thought I heard somebody about to say something over here. No? Change your mind? Okay.
Heidi, does she want to weigh in?
Heidi?
I can't see what you all got to see, so I'm just listening really well. But I'm not convinced that the red that I see is harmonious with the existing surrounding. That's my only concern.
I don't know if there's a way to like,
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
Nope, you're not tall enough.
sorry Heidi. I'll be honest with you, Heidi, this does look a lot better than
Okay.
those elevations. The elevations don't have any depth to them compared to these pictures, so.
I can email Mackenzie, I'll email you the pictures, and then
I'll get it sent to her.
if you want to share with Heidi,
Yeah.
great.
So my only other thought is, kind of as you go up and down, and we talked about this really briefly a minute ago, is as you go up and down Parish Lane, obviously everything that's been developed since the Parish Lane design guidelines have come into place, with really two exceptions, the America First and the Bank of America, which I don't know how that happened. The rock is a tan or a beige or a brown or whatever else it is.
With the exception of the credit union.
With the exception of America First and Bank of America, sounds like, which, whatever.
You were here on Make America.
Well, I know. Which, like I said, I don't know how that,
You said, I don't know how that happened. I'm like, well, you were here, right?
oh, I messed up, apparently. So I can be convinced otherwise from the commissioners, but I do kind of like the feel of the rest of the street having that brown, beige, tan, whatever color versus a gray or something like that, so that'd be my own personal opinion.
One thought I had was the white, that there's really not much white going on around this building. I appreciate the fact that you've gone from bright white to an off-white or leaning towards a beige.
Yeah.
I think that's an improvement. It'll soften it a little bit, won't, be as bright, basically. So, I don't know, I feel like there's enough of a mix in that neighborhood that it's hard to really be too stringent on particular colors. When you talk about the stone beige versus gray, I think we have both going on, so I don't know that, anyway, I would take a hard stand on that, but I'm okay with the red color. I think that's, especially from the photographs, and I think softening up the white is helpful, so. I don't have a lot of heartburn with it.
I personally don't like the dark gray. I really like this, like with the brown and the gray. I like that kind of motif instead of the dark gray, personally. And I think that,
I mean, this gray color,
no, this right here.
that's the same color as this, they're just different photographs.
Is this the same, are these
Well-
two the same pictures?
I
Are
believe
they
it
the
is.
same building?
Are they saying
I
the
believe
same?
it is, and what you can tell is one
Lighting.
is like clear and sunny,
Yeah, and the other's
and the other one's
overcast.
kind of an overcast day, so you can kind of see, you get some variations.
I don't think they're the same because look at the top here. This has got like a
You
brown,
might be right.
like some sort of wood.
It does give you two different time of day.
Okay. I personally like like if it was
Yeah, they're not the same building.
brown instead of the dark gray. But I think that would go a little bit better, but.
So I similarly am a little bit concerned about the white. We've stayed away with from stark white in renovations and things, and not necessarily that it has to be like all warm or whatever, but I think there's a way to find a lighter color that is not as stark. And then back to that other side that is also very stark. Like I appreciate a modern building and I appreciate a renovation that is maybe a little bit cooler or whatever than what it was. But I do think if you're really looking at being harmonious with surrounding areas, to be super cool, super white, and then super just like no other color on one side, that to me does not feel harmonious with the existing areas. So I'm wondering, at least on that side, if there's definitely a solution that could happen there, and then maybe just rethinking if there's ways to incorporate not necessarily the whole warmth of it, but like Christina pointed out, this one has a wood element or something that brings some warmth to it, that's not just the metal and the gray, but there's this modern style that can still have metal elements and gray elements that has like a warmth of the wood that really brings a little more depth to some of these buildings instead of looking just so stark. To me, something even just small like that would be more harmonious with the existing surroundings. Not that it would all have to be this like warmth, this warm color, but some sort of element that could like nod to the neighbors, surrounding and saying, yeah, I'm updated, I'm new, but I also, coexist within this sort of dated area of building as well.
Could and I don't, again, I mean, obviously it's expense and contractors installing it. Could there be a top crown trim and a mid-level trim? Would that be too hard with the ephes?
Say that again,
So I just noted, and I don't see what's
Cornice or
up here,
something
but
like
how much you have a crown trim up here. But if you look, you have a nice shadow line sitting right there at the break in colors.
Yeah.
And if you could pull in the warmth of the wood in some fashion to a top and middle trim, and still leave some of the cool tones, but you pull in this warm color on those trims, that could create a little contrast, sharp building.
Well, and that's where I would like defer to their designer, but giving them direction.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do,
some
is just
sort of
say
natural
something like that,
element
so-
or something
Because
warm.
I kind of heard the other element over the front door, someplace to look at.
Yeah.
Obviously, the upper ephes with the almond, if it's warmed, a little bit more, maybe even, than an eggshell or an almond, I don't know. But if you took the warmth of this kind of color and put it on a crown trim and a mid-level shadow trim, I think you'd break up that stark that you're looking with, even with the colors that they're proposing. But
well, they're showing that they've done that elsewhere, so I don't think it's too much of a departure from their corporate standards.
I mean, I'm a planner designing a building, and I just confess that architects do it better.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, their first default is gonna be, this is our corporate, colors,
Yeah.
et cetera, and that's what we're gonna do. I think with some of the comments from the group, I think they can go back and do a little bit of tweaking with some features.
Yeah, so I think one of the
I think
common
we all
things.
agree that north side needs some help.
Yeah, the north side needs something to break it up for sure. I think one of the other themes I've heard is some warmth. This definitely feels warmer than what definitely was there before, like the pre-yesterday submittal, right? But, and looks better than the elevation, so the warmth, I think warmth is one of the things that we've heard a lot of.
Well, and even just in like a small element, you know, there's a lot that a small element of natural or warmth or something can do to break up, you know, a very cool toned building. But I really like that red. I think that it is very, personally, I know Heidi, maybe it's hard for you to tell, but I think it's personally a really nice color. I think it looks similar to sort of the red that's over on Chili's, some of their highlights there. Not that I'm like using that as a standard to hold up, but I'm just saying that red is also similarly there. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great potential with this, and I think the changes that you've made, you know, just barely recently are getting really close to where we need to be harmonious with the other surroundings.
Yeah, just noticing, if you look at that top crown, it's one color, but there's a stripe sitting underneath
There is.
the crown, so maybe something like that as a feedback, not saying, but that would break that up.
So I think, I think what I'd like to do with this one is, just as staff has recommended, to table it for now and give you an opportunity to go back, talk to the design team, come back with something else based on some feedback that you've heard from us on that. And then we can go from there. Now, Lisa, if we table this, do we still need to have a public hearing for this? Because we've noticed it as a public hearing. Okay. So before we do that, any more comments or
Yeah.
questions or anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, we said a lot. Are you guys going to provide us with maybe some generalized direction?
We're YouTube stars.
You can go back on that YouTube. You know, I think you understand
Okay.
the gist of what we're trying to say, and I don't know that we are comfortable saying do exactly this at this point, but there are some tweaks with some, you know, specific things like the north end, maybe a warm element.
Yeah.
And then perhaps that top color, I think that are the top priorities, at least for me.
Yeah, add some warmth, certainly break up that north side, you know, that's what I think I heard unless others. Okay,
Okay. Well, thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So this has been scheduled for a public hearing, and we will go ahead and open this up for the public to speak. Seeing nobody rushing to the microphone, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, any further discussion, comments?
I'll have comments, and it's mostly geared towards just this whole general statute. This statute I find to be very uncomfortable because it is so subjective. I'm fine with tabling and deferring to the group, but at the same time, this looks close enough to me because I am so color dumb that I am not well equipped to make decisions of this sort. And so I'm going to let things happen the way they're going to happen, but if I were to try to make a decision on this based on the criteria in the code and then what's in front of me, I would have a lot of difficulty making a decision to say that it's either in compliance or not in compliance because the criteria are so mushy.
I'm with you on this. I joke around with my wife all the time that I live in an 8-color world, maybe 10 if you count black and white. But I think that's one of the great things about, yeah. I think that's one of the great things about the variety of the planning commissioners is that while some of us may be color dumb, as you say, others are certainly not. And so,
Right, which is fine, but at the same time, when you have applicants come in here and want a land use decision on an administrative level, and we then start getting in the driver's seat, I'm legally uncomfortable. I'll just leave it there.
I understand.
Right, and I hear that. I'll push back just a little bit and just say that cities have the purview to determine what is harmonious, right? Like that is like a nuanced, that's nuanced. And so it's very hard to say every single decision should either be black and white. And it's just gonna be all written down and legally, everything is perfect and you don't have to question, but that's the reason why we're on this board. That's the reason why we've been appointed, is to look at this nuance and to say, what is harmonious with where we live? And it's gonna be slightly subjective, just like we're all gonna, base decisions on our personal experience. But I hear what you're saying for sure, but I also think that's the whole reason why you're here, is to give us that nuanced view of what is harmonious with the surrounding areas.
Perfect. All right. Well, then, I will go ahead and make a motion for the Planning Commission to table the conceptual site plan for the proposed exterior building elevation changes located at 370 West 400 North, with the directives 1 and 2 in the staff report, which are basically go back and readdress some of the colors based on the comments that we've made and stuff. So that's my motion.
Second.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion on our motion to table?
Just a clarification, are you also closing the public hearing for the next time or continuing it?
For the next time?
For the next, what does that do for us in terms of noticing? Does that delay them in any way, or do we?
No, you would just be continuing to the next meeting, but whether you want public comment again or not.
I'm fine leaving the public hearing open, and if anybody wants to come and talk about it, I'd love to hear it. So,
So table both, the item and the public hearing
yeah,
to the next meeting.
yes, table the item and the public hearing. Second?
Second.
Great. Okay, let's start down on that end, on the
Aye.
motion to table.
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Commissioner Shagrud?
Aye.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, that was nice to see. We're excited, this will be good.
We're excited as well.
Perfect. Okay, moving right along, we have the Community Development Director's report and City Council report. Corey?
Just real quick, on your planning commission meeting, we only have one that was advertised, that we're attempting to advertise the food truck ordinance. Young Power Sports, we have a DRC meeting to them, but it's going to put us too late for your meeting to make any corrections. And so we could table or not have your regular session and replace it with a work session on the parking study. Or we could do both, do the food truck ordinance and,
Can we move the parking study to our regular session if we had nothing else?
yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to feel out is how would you want to handle that rather than having to come at
So
4:30
would
in the
the-
afternoon?
Is the idea that the parking study updates work session, is that just gonna be us, or are we gonna have anybody else?
Nope, just us to go over what that late night review was.
I know, I read the minutes.
I don't remember it all.
Yeah, it was
I don't either.
a good time.
I was asleep.
Hey, where are we at with the food truck ordinance? Are we,
We could still notice, I haven't noticed it yet because it's not due quite yet, so if
we
you
could,
want
yeah, we could pull that off and just hold a regular meeting on the parking study.
How long do you anticipate the parking study to take?
Probably a little bit of time.
Yeah, because the plan is to go into a little bit more depth and detail than we did.
Yeah, because one thing that the engineer didn't do is talk about this whole parking modification that some of us kind of like, I guess I'm speaking for me, and a lot of us don't like because it always feels like you're being asked.
Yeah.
So we need to have a little bit of discussion about parking modification and any changes that need to be there to either make you more comfortable that we can modify because you have a more disciplined idea. Because the reason I say that is simply because all situations are not the same and sometimes you need to modify what you're doing, but maybe it's too loose.
Yeah.
So we need to have that discussion along with the parking changes.
So how long do you think the food truck ordinance is gonna take, or is it just gonna be, here's what the state says you've gotta do, so take it or leave it?
You nailed it.
Quite a few edits, both to the business licensing as well as the food zoning code.
I feel
It's some reading.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Love it. I mean, I'm okay having a meeting and doing a regular meeting with both, or? do you
Yeah, we
want-
could do the food truck ordinance first, because that is a hearing process. You make a recommendation on it or table it, whatever the, decision is, and then we could go right to the parking study after.
Dismiss everybody from the public and then.
Yeah, we just, even put it down on the table if you want.
We can just do it here.
You can
that's
do it here at
fine.
the dais, whatever makes you comfortable.
Yeah, okay. Well, and works, even if it's a work session, the public is still,
Welcome.
Oh, yeah, welcome, yeah.
so, yeah, I'm okay with that, so.
Okay,
I think it'd be nice to just knock it out and say, look what we accomplished, one of our goals already in January. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
start out the year with a bang. Okay, we'll do that, we'll keep them both.
Okay.
Council reports, Schmuckers, you're aware of, everything's conditioned exactly the same. So, they did approve it, but it was based on getting this rezone, and they've got to hear that yet, so. That'll be in a way. And the commission goals, parking study, we'll talk about subdivision ordinance, we're getting close, truck ordinance, looks like it's coming forward. Single-family unplatted lots, I haven't even touched, to be honest with you. It's not that difficult of an ordinance, it's just getting to it. And just to give you an update on the general plan economic study, we applied for the transportation, something TLC, it's not a grant, it's a assistance, where we partner up with Wasatch Front Regional Council using their staff and our staff and subcommittees and whatever the process plays itself out in doing a general plan update, which I anticipate will take 6 to 8 months at least to accomplish. A couple of concerns about it is the ward comes in March. We don't know whether the city council is going to be in full agreement of accepting that. So we have a choice on our budget to either go it alone.
Accept the award?
Are there strings attached?
Well, it's Wasatch Front Regional Council, and some
So
members
we-
of the city council don't agree with the 2050 plan for Centerville.
So we have to accept the help of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. and that-
Yeah. Enter a
So if
contract, because we'll enter a contract with them in payment of, because all the bids for the consultants will go through them.
Well, we get their input, but that doesn't mean that we're bound to do
No,
what
no,
they
no, no,
say,
they're
right?
assistants.
Yeah.
But we joint up with them and the data have and the 2050 plan, all of those will be presented and influencing the process. And we also put the bids out to the consultants through them because they have a list of accepted people that are qualified in their terms to supposedly get better bulk payment and deals out of all of the assistance funds.
If we didn't accept assistance, would that somehow allow us to push back against any kind of plan that we didn't like?
Well, you can always push back on a general plan, just like we did the same.
I mean, just the 2050 plan.
Well, we did all of that data was in the West Plan that got rejected, and we used the same funds for that. So there's no prevention to you to adopt it. You're just going to get the data and the information that they're providing. And I know that there's not yet unity, particularly with a new council, 2 new members, on whether this grant is something that we want. There's consequences if we don't. We're stuck with the only amount of money we have. We get additional pot of money if we team up with them. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a good thing because they have help the staff, help with data, help with scenario building, help with, now that we have Omicron that's breaking out, this whole charrette process is not going to be probably traditional where people just gather in a big room together. We'll probably do some Zoom type with breakouts. If you want to go to talk to transportation this hour, you go to here. Next hour is going to be residential. They've built their system and technology up to handle it. Not that we can't, but they got the staffing for it to, publish the questionnaires and the surveys and everybody's Zooming. So I'd like to team up with them, but we're waiting till March to see if we even qualify because we may not get the assistance funds in the competitive bidding process.
So one of the potential concerns from the city council might be how much the Wasatch Front Regional Council corrupts us in this
That's
process.
a simple way of putting it. Influences us and how much do they fear that data is,
Okay.
how that's contrived to be the public.
Heidi wants to add something.
Oh.
Yep.
Heidi.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say I have worked through the Wasatch Front Regional Council with their TLC project before, and it's fantastic. And when I worked with them on an active transportation master plan for Harriman City. And when we presented the findings as staff and the Wasatch Front Regional Council with the consultant that was chosen, Harriman City elected officials and the Planning Commission had a lot of input and a lot of feedback that then we took back and made tweaks and changes. And so it's a really great process, and I'm all for it, 100. I'm in 100. And I hear what Corey's saying, but I think it's a great process.
Yeah, and hopefully Heidi, you don't interpret, I'm not for it. I'm actually 100% as much as
Yeah,
you are for
you're
it.
concerned about the council, and
But
we can't.
I think we need to go to the council and be able to, first, did we get the ward? And then two, have a work session together saying, here's the pros and cons of that process, and Heidi, your input's gonna be great. I think it's a good thing. I think we should stick with it.
Yeah.
Because I think we get better decisions than having me and McKinsey try to dream up what data and elements to use. And so, and then I think we get a better competitive bid for our money through their process. So, but I think I talked to the city manager recently, and we're just gonna wait to see if we make the competitive bid. And then we have response time, we'll schedule a work session to talk about everybody together, where we're trying to go with this general plan update. I'll have a skeleton idea of what I think we should be attempting as a part of it in relation to our general plan needs. And then hopefully they accept it, and then we go off from there. So it's gonna be March, 1st of April, somewhere in that time frame that we would begin.
When are they due?
They've already been submitted.
Okay.
Yep, it was due December 10th.
Okay.
So that information's already been submitted. I think we have a pretty good chance of getting it because the city is funding a pretty big substantial part of it. We're not asking,
For a complete handout.
we'll carry the predominant of the money.
Okay.
So I think we have a good chance.
Okay. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Heidi. All right, anything else that cover everything you wanted to say, Corey?
Yep, unless you want me to make something up.
Oh, please make something up. Just joking. I just wanted to see what you'd come up with. Ignore me.
All right, let's move on.
I could, but I'm not going to.
Let's move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is elect the chair and vice chair, which we are instructed to do every year at this time. Lisa, I didn't talk to you earlier, but are you prepared to?
Sure.
Oh,
If you want to explain to people how we typically do it?
Yeah.
or-
okay. So here's what we're going to do. The only trick is going to be Heidi, and I don't know if maybe,
You can email me, and that way,
yeah, Heidi, can you email Mackenzie?
because otherwise
Chat, yeah.
everybody will
Or
see it.
Or if she chats, does everybody see it?
Yeah.
Oh, so email Mackenzie then, that'd be better. So we are going to do this, we're gonna break this up 2 ways. We'll start with the chair, we'll take nominations for chair, have a vote, and then based on the outcome of that, then we will take nominations for vice chair, take a vote, and Lisa is preparing
Preparing the ballots
our
now.
ballots right now. While she's preparing ballots, I will go ahead and open up nominations for chair.
I nominate you for chair.
Thank you.
So there's a term limit on this?
For
1
chair?
year.
1 year.
1 year, but you can be reelected to successive years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's currently the vice chair?
No one
Censor.
Sir Summerhays,
Okay,
was.
got it.
Oh,
he was the vice chair for last year.
I nominate Heidi as chair.
Okay, anything
And
else?
Kevin, you did a great job too.
Oh,
we'll
thank
have
you.
to use the front for the chair and then.
He's already nominated.
I don't nominate you, I'm just telling you, you do a great job too.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a nomination, or do we close our nominations?
Do we need to nominate vice chairs as well?
So we'll do that in a minute.
Huh?
Okay.
think he's got it.
There's another.
I got more, I think.
I only have a highlighter, will that work?
Well,
That
you
would
could
be
use this
amazing.
one after.
One pen, but you can share it.
Got it?
I have another pen if you want.
So in other words, we're doing chair first, and then we'll do a second round with vice chair.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Athlete.
Got the gas. Yeah. One-handed catch.
Pass it down.
Pass it down. Lisa will tally them up. Lisa?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not working.
Here.
Good one, is that?
I have another pen too. You want another one?
All right.
Okay, so we have two nominations for chair. One is for Kevin Daly for another term, and one is for Heidi Shagrud. So we have one vote for Kevin Daly, one vote for Heidi Shagrud, one vote for Kevin, one vote for Heidi. We'll be sending that one back for check, and one vote for Kevin, and then one vote for Kevin. So Kevin wins 4-2.
Yay, Kevin.
But thank you, Kevin, you did a great job.
Thank you. I'm
I was
honored.
waiting for Heidi to break the tie.
Humbled to.
Okay, and so then we take nominations for vice. Those are your
Okay.
I nominate Heidi for vice chair.
I nominate Becky for vice chair.
Take that.
Nice.
Are we willing, like, do we have the ability to say something?
Do you want to
Well,
campaign?
you shouldn't vote for it.
Let's take all the nominations. We'll let you.
Yeah, let's, do we have any more nominations, or should we close the nominations?
For speeches.
Let's close the nominations, good. Okay. I guess, Becky, do you want to say something, and then Heidi can say something in response?
I think Heidi would be an amazing vice chair. She's consistent, she's level-headed, she's very organized, and I think she would do a very good job at vice chair.
Heidi? Do you want to say anything?
While I appreciate Becky's flattery, I think Becky would do a far better job than I would because I'm still new to this. And Becky seems to have great input and awesome things to say that she is actually the level-headed one. And I find myself checking myself every time I open my mouth. So I think y'all should vote for Becky.
Okay. Thank you, Heidi. All right, when you're ready, pass them down, and we'll.
This has been the most exciting election,
This one's been good.
hasn't it?
Becky,
Okay.
do we dare try this?
Oh, okay.
Well done.
So we have two nominations for vice chair, Heidi Shagrud and Becky Wright. We have one vote for Heidi. One vote for Becky. One vote for Becky. One vote for Heidi.
Oh, it's getting close.
One vote for Becky. Uh-oh. And one vote for Heidi.
Coin toss time.
Tiebreaker.
What? I told you this was.
Chair gets to cast two votes.
Chair has to pick. Heidi would do a great job because, I mean, who do you think
Well, we
is
could-
consistently here the most?
I'm not even there tonight. You shouldn't vote for me. I'm not even there.
That's not what I mean.
Well, we don't have any provisions in our bylaws for tie breaking, do we?
Exactly, I'm just thinking procedurally that doesn't pass, so you could
But-
try the vote again. You can wait till the mayor appoints another planning commissioner, or you want to vote again? Do you want me to send?
We have co-vice chairs,
Let me
and
double-
if your last name is further in the alphabet, you go first, and then the other person. How about that? I think that's a good idea.
Well,
I'll be like the
don't
vice
we-
chair sub.
why don't we vote again, one more time, real quick, and see if we come out with any different result.
Okay.
One more time.
One more time.
We could also put the names
You don't know
in.
who
Everyone
else?
changed their vote.
I don't
Everybody's
have
gonna-
any more
Come
paper.
out of tying it.
They
Oh.
could just, oh, yeah.
Well,
Do a heads
Strike
up,
these and
heads
you're gonna
up.
write on the other
7
side.
heads up, 7-0.
So
You two, rock,
during
paper,
this
scissors.
revote, can I ask a question to the candidates?
You bet.
Yeah.
How long have you been on commission?
I have been on commission almost 6 years.
And you're gonna have your expiration date when?
My term is coming up pretty soon. Kevin and I actually were I was just a couple months before you. I think I'm February and you're March.
Something like that. Well,
Yeah, so you guys,
but here's the thing, my term doesn't, well, I filled out the end of somebody else's term and my term got reappointed well
Yes.
after yours. So I'm still on for.
so you filled out someone's and then you got redone.
Yeah, so I'm on for this whole calendar
I
year.
actually asked the mayor, because I was asking about this, and he's like, yeah, I think Kevin's a couple months after you, so.
Well, I know I'm on
But
for
you can say yes
I'm
for
on for the whole
longer.
calendar year, so that's,
Yeah,
Becky, when are you done?
so he may not reappoint me, so that's tricky, you guys.
He's gonna reappoint
Like,
you. You know
that's,
he's reappointing you. But there's a maximum cap on the number of reappointments, correct?
it's unofficial.
Unofficial two.
Usually two.
2 reappointments or
Here's your-
2
Two terms,
ballots.
6 years.
Next year, we're going to electronic mail and
Well,
ballot.
there you go, see?
Did you get one?
It doesn't say it has to be that way, that's
How
just,
long how long did you have to fill out the rest of the people?
Wait, so
All I know is I'm
Just reusing the tape.
still on for all of this
I
calendar.
got the same one.
I'll borrow your pen.
What are you laughing at?
This is, he doesn't. have a
Hilarious.
pen.
Yeah, she did.
This is the most fun we've had at planning commission meeting for a long time.
Kind of use your pen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Heidi, are you sending in your vote again?
Got it.
Okay.
3.
Come on, who's the best campaigner? Let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It seemed like each was campaigning for the other.
I know.
That's what I.
Again, this is the recount for vice chair between Heidi Shagrud and Becky Wright. 1 for Becky. Oh, wait, I gotta start my. Okay, 1 for Becky. 1 for Heidi.
what a tight race.
1 for Heidi. 1 for Becky. 1 for Becky.
Oh, you
And-
marked that
Oh,
on.
so, good job, good job. And 1 for Becky, so 4-2. Join the majority. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3,
Did you see,
One,
did you see
two,
Heidi's dance?
4.
Yeah.
Okay,
Campaigning
congratulations.
backfired on me.
4-2.
And the right person wins.
There you go.
There you go. You did a good campaign there, Heidi.
I was gonna say, Heidi, pay attention, because next year it's all you. All right, last item on the agenda, we've got some minutes to approve from our last meeting, which was a 4-hour and 21-minute marathon. Was counting. Anyway, anybody have any recommended changes for page 1? Let's start with taking out that weird D at the beginning of planning commission,
That's what I was gonna say.
top of the page.
Yep, title.
Title. Anything else on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Page 5? Page 6? Page 7? Page 8? Page 9? 10? Page 11? Anybody have a motion?
I move to accept the minutes of the December 8th Planning Commission meeting as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do this together. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? No, that was unanimous. Great. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, we're adjourned. Thanks.
See you next time, hopefully.